You're watching Public Affairs. Berkowitz is my name and politics is our game, and we will be doing politics this evening because we have as our guest Cook County Commissioner Tony Peraica. He's, of course, a Republican. He's been in the trenches for a long time, so we're just going to ask Tony right off to start off his show. Is Rahm Emanuel, Congressman Rahm Emanuel, is he the link that connects pay-to-play from Mayor Daley in Chicago and Cook County to Barack Obama in D.C., or is Rahm Emanuel just an innocent bystander here, and events will show he was clean?
I don't know exactly what some 300 hours of recorded conversations will show, but Rahm Emanuel is part of the inner circle around Mayor Daley, who is the kingpin in this whole process. Rahm Emanuel, Axelrod, Valerie Jarrett, Forrest Claypool, my fellow colleague on the board, was the chief of staff to Mayor Daley. There's a whole entourage of people around Mayor Daley who, including John Harris, who was indicted with Governor Blagojevich, who have gone through the Daley College of Politics. And Rahm Emanuel, who was one of his earlier and most successful fundraiser, is known for tough, bare knuckles type politics. So I think
when Rahm comes walking down the halls, you can hear him clanking. Is that what?
Yeah, he has cultivated an image of himself.
So he's a tough guy, but look,
yes.
That doesn't mean he's doing anything wrong. And you threw in Forrest Claypool. Didn't you just mention Forrest Claypool?
Forrest Claypool was the chief of staff to Mayor Daley, correct?
Yeah, but
correct.
You're not saying Forrest. He's your buddy. He's a reformer, right?
Forrest is a reformer on the County Board of Commissioners where I serve now, yeah.
Right, so just because somebody once was a part of the Daley machine, if you want to say, or at least part of the Daley administration, doesn't mean that they're bad in some sense, right? I mean, you're not saying that you're not impugning the integrity of Forrest Claypool, right?
No, not by any stretch.
Are you impugning the integrity of Rahm Emanuel because he was used to be a fundraiser for Mayor Daley before he went into the Clinton administration?
Well, Rahm Emanuel used the position as a most successful fundraiser for Mayor Daley during his mayoral run to get a position with the Clinton administration,
There's nothing wrong.
which he then parlayed to $13.5 million in earnings with an investment firm, and then ran for Congress with the help of Tom Zak and Mayor Daley's.
Once it was said 6 or 8 million. Now it's gone to 13.
$13 million is what I read. Yeah, it's about 3 years of work.
Yeah, he was a deal maker. He was an investment banker for a few years.
Wouldn't you love to have that kind of a job? It's one of those things that I think raises a lot of questions.
You can make money like that. I mean, you've put together big deals. He did put together a big deal for Commonwealth Edison.
I understand.
I mean, and if you in investment, look, the point is, are you saying there's something dirty about Rahm Emanuel?
What I'm saying is that the story is yet to be told about Rahm Emanuel's exact involvement in his conversations with Governor Blagojevich. And I don't have this Cinderella look of the local political scene as some of the national media members have.
But you're not accusing him of doing anything wrong at this time?
I don't know that he did or did not.
He
That's
might
yet
have
to
or
be
he
told.
might not have. That's what you're saying.
That's correct. I think that the jury is out on that.
I mean, he might have been innocently transmitting recommendations or preferences from Barack Obama to Governor Rod Blagojevich as to who Barack would like to see, or as they said, who was acceptable as U.S. Senate candidates to replace Barack. There's nothing wrong with Barack doing that, right?
There are two things here.
No, just answer that question. There's nothing wrong with Barack doing what I just mentioned, right?
There's nothing wrong with it intrinsically.
In fact, it's
to try to influence who would be your successor. Right. And the story so far has been that Rahm Emanuel has brought a list to Governor Blagojevich with about 4 names on it as to who President Obama-elect Obama would want to see replace him in the United States Senate.
And who was it rumored that was on that list?
Valerie Jarrett was at the top of the list. There were a number of other people I can't remember right now, but Lisa Madigan.
Jan Schakowsky wasn't.
Lisa Madigan was on as Lisa Madigan was.
Jan Schakowsky wasn't on it.
No. Jan Schakowsky was, to my understanding, on the original list. Lisa Madigan was added later as an additional candidate to that list. But there were a number of people who were there, and Valerie Jarrett was certainly one of them.
Nothing wrong with that. Valerie's a close confidant of Barack Obama for many years. She's
what is wrong,
part of the Daley administration at point.
What would be wrong is if some governmental resource was used to buy an appointment for Valerie Jarrett or anyone else from Governor Blagojevich with, in other words, an appointment to an official position, a donation to a particular campaign fund, You know, all of these things are governmental resources. If governmental resources were used, then I think there would be an illegal act.
Or were offered.
Or were offered, yes.
But every indication so far from the U.S. Attorney and from what we've seen in the criminal complaint, which is only 2 pages, but the affidavit in support of that's about 76, I think.
Right.
But what we've seen in there so far is that Rod Blagojevich, if that's accurate, was apparently upset with the Obama administration, if you want to call it that at this point, because they wouldn't offer anything but for appreciation. And he said bleep appreciation or something like that. Oh, he didn't say bleep, right?
Right. Well,
so that almost, if not exonerating the Obama administration, it certainly makes the Obama administration look good relative to some others. And the allegations are floating around Congressman Jesse Jackson Jr. That friends of his, emissaries, were offering things, which he denies, or at least he denies he authorized anybody to do it. But the point is there's much more troublesome stuff in the air about Congressman Jesse Jackson Jr. than there is about Barack Obama or even Rahm Emanuel.
There are a lot of troublesome facts in the air, and there will be a lot more facts coming down the pike. And when you have someone like John Harris, who has been indicted, who was Mayor Daley's chief of staff before he joined Governor Blagojevich. And became
Blagojevich's chief of staff.
And became Governor Blagojevich's chief of staff. When you have someone like that who has these intricate relationships and has engaged in conversations with Rahm Emanuel, with other members of the Obama team, I mean, all of these 300+ hours of conversations are going to be poured over with a fine-tooth comb and are going to be examined in light of the other events that took place and other conversations that took place, and a pattern is going to emerge eventually, which I think is going to be damaging to the incoming Obama administration.
You think it will, but you don't have anything to base that on right now. I mean, do you?
I base it on my 30...
It could be a distraction as opposed to, is a distraction damaging?
I base it on my 38 years of observing Cook County politics, and in particular,
38 years? Did you start that when you came to this country?
Yes, I did.
At 13?
Yes, I did.
Or was it 11?
That's right. Early on.
11 or 13? When did you come?
I was 13 years old.
From Croatia, and where were you observing this?
I was in the 11th Ward, the south side of the city, Bridgeport, the neighborhood of mayors, watching the whole thing unfold.
Daley's old ward.
That's correct.
Before he got fancy and moved downtown, right?
Right. So I think I have a good working knowledge of the ongoing development and history of the regular democratic organization of Cook County and President-elect Obama's role within it, which I think is a lot more involved and intensive than is otherwise admitted.
You said in what? His role, Obama's role in what? You just said yes. Well, what does it refer to? The Daley administration?
It refers
the Daley machine, what?
It refers to the Daley democratic machine that had as its members individuals we talked about before at one point or another in their careers, that had Tom Zak, that had all of these other individuals who were convicted or are indicted currently, like Sanchez and Marco Morales and Tom Zak and numerous other political players who were part of that team that worked with various elements of this democratic machine as it evolved over time.
But Obama wasn't a part. I mean, John Cass, Chicago Tribune columnist, keeps saying Obama was a product of the Daley machine. You don't agree with that, do you?
I think the Daley machine clearly helped Obama raise almost $1 billion during the period between 2000 and 2008.
Billion? You just said
$1 billion, yeah.
Billion with a B.
Correct.
It helped him raise $1 billion?
Between 2000 and 2008.
So it's part of the presidential administration. I mean, he didn't
the U.S. Senate.
He didn't raise $1 billion for the presidential race.
It's about $750 million.
Okay, so you're rounding up.
I'm rounding. I'm looking at the U.S. Senate.
How much of that $750 million raised in the presidential race would you attribute to Mayor Daley or the Daley machine?
I think if you look at the union connections, particularly the Federation of Labor, the SEIU, AFSCME donations, teachers union, you're talking about in excess probably of $80 to $100 million.
But you can't attribute that all to Daley. I mean, number one, Obama's got very good labor connections of his own, and those folks would have been there for almost any Democrat. So why give Daley all that credit? Aren't you giving him more credit than it's due?
I'm not giving him enough credit. This is all part of the same
kind of
team.
You didn't answer the question. Do you agree with Cass? Was Obama a product of the Daley machine?
I do not agree with John Cass on that particular point.
Because he's not a product. He's a product of Barack Obama, right?
No, I believe that
He didn't
Barack
get to this
Obama,
stage. Excuse me.
Can
He
I
did
answer
not.
the question?
Okay. Sure.
I believe that Barack Obama was a part of that whole team that includes remnants of the Daily Machine when it was convenient for him to have those, benefits from that machine.
When was he a part of that whole team that you referred to?
During the period between 2000 and 2008.
All right. So when he ran, when he started in 1996, and Barack Obama ran for the state senate, you wouldn't say he was a part of the Daily Machine, as you just said then, right? Because that was Barack Obama running with the.
Correct.
He was mentored by Emil Jones, not really a part of the Daily Machine.
That was the period when Barack Obama removed Alice Palmer from the ballot along with other candidates who
knocked
were
them
running
all
against
off.
him.
There's nothing wrong
Right.
with that. You would do that in a heartbeat if you could knock your opponents off, right?
Well, Alice Palmer had a special place in Barack's life, and I think to treat someone who took you in off the street when you came to Chicago and knock her off the ballot in a manner that he did, I find rather disturbing.
What was he supposed to do? If you could get an opponent, no matter who it was, off the ballot running against you, and you could do it legitimately and legally, which is what Barack Obama did, you wouldn't do that? This is the new kinder and gentler Tony Peraica?
There are people in your life who, as Alice Palmer played a role in Barack Obama's life, who have been extremely important in his being able to become part of the African-American political elite establishment on the South Side. And to treat her in the manner that he did when he threw her off the ballot.
She encouraged him to run. She encouraged him to run. He ran.
And then she asked him not to run.
Yeah, she changed her mind because she lost for a congressional bid. She wanted backsies. You understand? You used to play backsies when you were a kid. You don't get backsies, you know? You don't get to go back.
You're not going
you
to
can't
have
go
me
back
change
on your
my
word.
mind on what I've said. So we
All right,
can
so,
respectfully disagree on that point.
So, but in any case, so he got to the state senate on his own, however he did it.
Yes.
He kept that for 4 years on his own. He ran against Bobby Rush in 2000.
Right.
Are you saying that Mayor Daley was helping him there? Because if so, he wasn't too effective.
No, he wasn't.
He got spanked.
Correct.
So Daley turned and helped the guy who would run against him, namely Bobby Rush, right? In 2000, probably, right?
Bobby Rush ran against the mayor.
Yeah, and
later, so there was really no reason for the mayor to get involved in that point at all.
Well, he probably saw he might. Well, so you're saying Daley was neutral in that race? Is that what you're telling me?
Indifferent, yes.
2000, and then in 2000, you say Daley starts helping Barack Obama? You said 2000 to 2008, so he starts helping Barack Obama in 2000 after he lost?
Well,
2001?
we have to understand how these relationships develop over time.
Come on, this is not an academic class. Be straight with me, Tony. You're starting to use these words.
I can, if you will just allow me to explain.
It's like I'm talking to a
Barack
professor
Obama's wife, Michelle, worked for Valerie Jarrett. I mean, he knew her during the internship that he did at the firm that she was at before she worked for Valerie Jarrett. I mean, when you're talking about the South Side African-American political establishment, it's a rather small circle of individuals where everyone knows everybody else. And Barack Obama had to, in that climate, navigate and take advantage of the various alliances that already existed in that particular
well, let's break it down.
network.
Valerie Jarrett, okay, was in the Daley administration, and she recruited Michelle Robinson before she became Barack Obama's wife, right? Wasn't the other way around,
Right.
okay? It was Valerie Jarrett recruiting Michelle Robinson, and Michelle Robinson said to Valerie, you know, my beau, Barack Obama, would like to meet you, have dinner, because he cares about what I do. And so it was almost as if Valerie Jarrett had to get Barack Obama's approval for the job that Michelle Robinson was going to get. But there's nothing wrong with that.
No, but then
a loving husband to be, you know, being concerned about his spouse. It could be a loving wife to be being concerned about her husband. So it's not. So we're neutral here on gender, okay? A spouse concerned about a spouse getting a job. They want to interview. They want to give opinion. There's nothing wrong with that, right?
there's a 1 degree of separation among all of the political players in the city and the county, let alone within the subset on the South Side political scene.
So Michelle Robinson goes to work with Valerie Jarrett implicitly in the Daley administration.
Well, Valerie Jarrett is now head of the University of Chicago Hospitals, and Barack Obama's, President-elect Obama's wife, Michelle, is, as you know, an employee of the University of Chicago hospital system.
Which she was,
so,
yeah.
I believe she still is, unless she resigned.
She was for a while, I'm saying, but she was for quite some time. She was once an employee making $130,000 there, right? And then it went up. So
went to $350,000.
No, she became more valuable. Her contacts became more important.
I'm sure that's the case.
There's nothing wrong with that.
There's nothing wrong with any of it on its face, but if you look below the surface, there are all of these troubling relationships where certain individuals are picking others and bringing them along and giving them cushy positions, whether it's in the hospital, nonprofit sector, or for-profit sector, whether it's at the Habitat, whether it's at the city, whether it's any of the city's agencies. And there's this cross-pollination that in a culture of corruption brings about these kinds of unhealthy relationships in a one-sided, one-party system that we have here in Cook County and the state of Illinois. So all of that contributes to the culture of corruption that we find ourselves in now, which is going to receive national and international attention for the next months and years ahead of us.
Okay, so now we get into the Illinois Democratic Party, right? Where offices are family heirlooms, right?
That's right.
That's what we're talking about, really. Let's get right to it.
It's aristocracy at its best, yes.
Daly to Daly, right?
Correct.
Mayor Richard J. Daly has his son there, Richard M. Daly,
That's
even
correct.
after he dies. For the last 53 years, a Daly has sat in the mayor's chair in Chicago for 40 years, 40 out of 53. A bit of a dynasty, a bit of a monopoly, right? Madigan to Madigan, right?
Speaker Madigan's been there almost 40 years, and now he passes on to his daughter. And then you have
Governor.
Stroger.
She became Attorney General when
Right.
she had that vast experience of 4 years in the state Senate, right?
Right.
Do you know many other people who rise to become Attorney General anywhere?
Yeah, Joe
with 4
Biden's
years?
son.
Yeah, so it helps. So this is nothing new, right?
Happens
Who's chairman of the Republican Party?
in the state of Illinois.
Yeah,
Andy McKenna is.
Andy
currently.
McKenna Jr. How did he get there?
He was elected by the State Central Committee at the
No, but
last
how did
convention.
he really get there? His name ain't Peraica, it ain't Berkowitz, it's McKenna. How did he get there?
Andy McKenna had 3 or 4 opponents, and unfortunately,
How did he get there, Tony? It's only a half hour
he was
show.
elected by the 19 members of the State Central Committee.
Daly to Daly, Madigan to Madigan, what? Smith to McKenna?
If you're saying that Andy McKenna Sr. made Andy McKenna Jr. the chairman of the party, I don't think that's correct.
Where did
because
he
I
get
was
the
there.
money to give to people? Where did Andy Jr. get the money to give to people? Did he go get it from his paper route?
No, I assume he got it from his McKenna, or rather, McKenna Family Business Schwartz Paper Company.
Which his father started,
Correct.
which Andy is now president of, his father is chairman.
That's right.
Would Andy have that position, you think, if his name were Smith or Wykowski or whatever?
Perhaps, but probably unlikely.
Probably unlikely. All I'm saying here, and we're not going after Andy McKenna Jr., we're just saying families help people in their families. Daly to Daly, Madigan to Madigan, McKenna to McKenna. McKenna's been there for 4 years. Has he performed well in 04 or 06 or 08?
The party performance, judging by the outcome during these election cycles, has been dismal.
All right, so should McKenna Jr. stay there?
I think that we need a change in the leadership of the Republican Party at the state level, without a doubt.
All right, so your answer is no, he shouldn't stay there, is that right?
Correct.
All right. So I'm just trying to be a little bit fair here, and as I say, it's not against Andy McKenna, it's just that...
No, Andy is a wonderful gentleman.
Right.
I know him personally. I know his wife, Mary. That has nothing to do
But he didn't give you,
with
he didn't lift a finger, in your words, when you were running for state's attorney of Cook County, right, to help you?
I did not receive the kind of help that I think
come
was
on,
necessary.
the word was he didn't lift a finger to help you. That was your word, right? You're backing off from that
I
now?
did not get the help from the chairman, McKenna.
Did you get
or
$1 from McKenna to help you in your campaign?
No, I
for
did
state's
not.
attorney? Not
I
a
did
dollar.
not.
Not $1.
No, correct.
All right. You can't feel too fondly of the guy, right?
Look, it's politics. I don't take any of it personally. If you're asking me,
When
do we
Dan
need a
Cronin
change,
came
I
after you
do.
a week, when Dan Cronin came after you a week before, State Senator Dan Cronin said he's going to reform the GOP, he's going to do things in Cook County.
Fascinating,
And he
isn't
was asked if Tony Peraica would be a part of that, and he said
Right.
no, right?
That's correct.
So you want to thank publicly here Dan Cronin for helping you out in that last week?
Dan Cronin did not help me out, and I don't really foresee him helping me out. And I find it amazing, frankly, that he would be concerned about the Cook County Republican Party when the DuPage Republican Party that he is the chairman of is devastated. And look at the performance in the last couple of cycles by the DuPage Republican Party. So I have some troubling concerns about by the chairman Cronin and about Mr. Schillerstrom out there and others who are, I think, too cozy with the mayor of this city, Mayor Daly, and trying to kind of have regional control in a bipartisan combine.
Call that the Illinois Combine?
Yes.
Used to be the Daly-Ryan Combine. Daly as in Mayor Richard M. Daly.
That's right.
Ryan as in Governor George Ryan. who now, George Ryan, resides in prison, right?
That's right.
Part of that combine. Jim Thompson from Winston and Strawn, which represented George Ryan. They were out there recently.
Represented Blagojevich until he ran out of
Jim
money.
Thompson's trying to help George Ryan get a commutation from President Bush, right?
Right.
Dick Durbin, Senator Dick Durbin's trying to help.
That's right.
Isn't it wonderful how Democrats and Republicans can always work so collegially in the state?
These are perfect examples of the Illinois Combine working across partisan lines to help themselves and those who are
so Republicans are a part of it still.
No question.
George Ryan's gone, but they're still part of it. How do you cleanse the Republican Party of this?
It's up to the people of Illinois in local elections and county elections to stand up for those who represent reform, openness, transparency, honest government, and not to vote instinctively for people who have acted contrary to those principles time after time.
So now we got a chance. Rod Blagojevich is arrested. I shouldn't say we, trying to be fair and balanced here. The chance is that, I should say, the people of Illinois have a chance, right?
That's correct.
A chance to correct this, right?
There's always a chance.
Yeah.
I'm a born optimist. I think that
and so what's the chance? Because, okay, now Rod Blagojevich has been arrested. People are saying he's ineffective. One would think he would be impeached. The House, I think the State House has to get a 60% vote to issue articles of impeachment, right?
That's correct.
The Senate then votes similar to the federal level. I think it takes a 60% vote to convict him, right?
That's right.
Then he's removed. But no, the Attorney General, Lisa Madigan, said, that's not such a good thing. She wants to go ahead and have the Supreme Court declare he's incompetent, mentally, physically, or whatever, from carrying out the duties. It would be a perversion of the law, right?
Disabled.
It would be a perversion of the law. That wasn't what it was intended to do, right?
It would be. It would be. If you look at...
Why does she want to do that? Why does she not favor impeachment?
I think that she wants to appear as a candidate for governor herself, that she's doing something proactive and concrete.
You think?
To remove, yeah, I think.
Or maybe she doesn't want to have Rod defending himself in the State House about impeachment, because maybe when the dirty linen comes out, it may all come out, huh?
Well, look, they want Blagojevich. Listen.
Blagojevich ain't going quietly into the night.
They want Blagojevich out in the worst way possible, and that's why I think that Attorney General Lisa Madigan has taken this unprecedented action under Article 5, Section 6 of the Illinois Constitution, which doesn't define disability anywhere, to declare someone disabled when there is really no definition for what that means. And he's quite able,
but the Supreme
as
Court
he has
might
shown,
comply.
to perform. The
Supreme Court might comply because the Speaker, as we mentioned, is also, Speaker Mike Madigan is also chairman of the Illinois Democratic Party.
Right.
Basically, he and his friends decide who the judges are,
right.
Whether it's circuit court, whether it's appellate court, whether it's state Supreme Court. So these folks might listen when Madigan talks, whether it's Lisa, whether it's Speaker Mike, right? It's a Madigan.
The
right?
conflicts of interest abound, and I think that only national and international attention to this corrupt state of Illinois, which is probably as corrupt as today's Russia is in terms of the plutocracy and kleptocracy that exists here, can be changed only through this kind of heat that's brought upon by international and national attention, and hopefully that will, as it percolates through the system, inform the public, the voting public, the kind of a dysfunctional system that we have here.
Well, we're taping this on December 14th, and so folks may see it in the Chicago metro suburbs a little before Christmas, the week of the 21st, 22nd. They may see it in Rockford and in Aurora and throughout Illinois after Christmas. So a lot of this might be decided, but I think we've helped, I hope, or helping you get a context in which the decisions are evolving. It may be decided instead of an appointment. Look, if Rod is somehow removed quickly, the lieutenant governor, Pat Quinn, becomes the governor, right?
Who has now flipped, and Mr. Referendum doesn't want to have a plebiscite by the people. He would rather appoint another Democrat from
Mr. Plebiscite, Pat Quinn wants everything to be decided by referendum and plebiscite, and whether it's a tax increase, which he may favor, the whole world, it should be plebiscites. But then suddenly he wanted to have a special election,
right, so
the cronies wouldn't decide who the next U.S. Senator is from the state of Illinois. But then he flipped, and then he decided, no, it'd be better if Pat made the appointment, right?
Correct.
Isn't that funny how that happened?
Well, yeah, it's interesting how that happens.
But because the Democrats realized, actually, they may lose this election. They couldn't imagine, so they'd forgotten there was a Republican Party, which is damn easy to do, right? Okay.
Very easy to do,
But then he remembers the Republican Party. Maybe Mark Kirk could win a Senate race. Maybe
or Peter Roskin or one of the others, yes.
Or somebody else who's anointed. Who knows, right?
Well, there will be a primary in February of
You think?
09, and
Why
there
don't
will
we
be a
just ask
general
Andy
in April.
McKenna who should do it? The McKennas could get to decide.
Well, I'm
You
sure
think there
Andy
should be a
McKenna,
primary?
I'm sure Andy McKenna will have a say as a chairman of the Republican Party in consultation with others as to who would be best suited to take
Why
on
don't we
this
call
task.
up Bob Schalander, okay? He would decide.
Yeah, I'm sure that Bob Schalander, with his $1 million in his campaign fund, will make a substantial contribution to whomever is
So just to
anointed.
remind people, when we talked about the family heirlooms, Daley to Daley and Madigan to Madigan, Hines to Hines, that's Tommy Hines to Dan Hines, John Stroger to Todd Stroger, Reverend Jackson to Jesse Jackson, Richard Mell to his son-in-law Rod Blagojevich,
Or Debbie Mell, in this case.
McKenna to McKenna, Todd, so it all comes home. We're going to continue to speak as the credits roll, but I think we've given you some insights as to how this all works, right?
Right, Jeff, this is what we fought a revolution against 230 years ago, and here we're now again in a period of aristocracy where people pass these offices down to their offspring. And I think that the voters of Cook County and the voters of the state of Illinois ultimately are the ones who are responsible and should be held responsible, because they elect automatically, robotically the same people that have failed them time after time after time.
So maybe they'll wake up and throw the bleeping bums out, right?
That's the hope.
We can say bleeping on this show? Yeah, I guess it's okay. All right, so thanks so much, Commissioner
Always a
Tony
pleasure.
Peraica. We'll have to have him back. We didn't really get to the Cook County issues.
There's a budget taking place here. So.
But there's borrowing going on, there's patronage,
Yes.
there's corruption. It's all going on in Cook County, so that's the connection.
$740 million in borrowing so that Todd Stroger can say to the voters of Cook County, I didn't raise your taxes, even though it's an indirect tax
So the
increase.
$400 million tax increase that he did raise taxes on in the sales tax, that's not enough. And he only
That's
needs
not enough.
$750 million?
That's right.
Now, to be
Amazing,
fair,
isn't it?
Todd would say this is just, you know, this is something you folks approved. You knew they need the borrowing. This is to pay for pension payments that you approved.
I did not approve.
The
I
board,
voted
but, he
against
said,
it.
but the board did. he
The
said.
board approved it, unfortunately, because a lot of members there really don't pay attention as to what is on the agenda, let alone in the supplemental materials, and therefore we get kind of government by accident there, and that's unfortunate and very costly for the taxpayers.
Hey, look, there's horse trading that goes on. Somebody wants help with something in politics. The other person wants help. They do horse trading. What was wrong here? Somebody wanted, we have rich people get ambassadorships all the time. What's different here? Rich person might get a Senate seat. Something wrong?
That's what Dan Rostakowski said when he said everyone is bouncing checks and cashing stamps for cash. There's a new
So
standard.
the fine
here.
line is quid pro quos. No quid pro quos. If you do, you're going to find your butt in jail. Is that
That's
what
right.
it's
You
saying?
can't
That's
use,
what Patrick
you
Fitzgerald
can't use
says?
taxpayer resources to enrich yourself or your friends or perform your political functions, either directly or
Did that
indirectly.
happen here? Is Barack Obama in trouble?
I believe that some of that took place here. Whether it goes all the way up to the president-elect, that's something that we'll have to find out.
Is Barack Obama a reformer or an accommodator?
Accommodator.